All right, boys, I'm home alone, so I can freaking use the computer as long as I want. There's a new Turkey Tom video. I'm excited for this one. 7 banned YouTubers who everyone forgot. Every single one of these guys. Leafy was the one who got banned. Sneako was censored, allegedly, and freaking, I believe the arrested one was Austin Jones off of the Warped Tour, something like that. As you may be able to tell, I didn't forget any of these young gentlemen, even though I'm not a particular fan of any of them, especially Austin Jones. But hey, let's freaking see what this video has in store, dude.
Bullied kids. Others did other things to kids.
Stop it. Get some help.
Cases.
Jeez. Yeah, this guy was a huge creep, apparently. I mean, he was convicted, so it's not even, like, alleged, but I don't remember exactly what he did. Just kidding. I remember the twerking videos. Never forget. Grenade! Going back, Private! Sir, yes, sir! Private, what the fuck? Never forget that he was sending these tutorials on how to throw it back to young women. Disgusting behavior, but also the audacity of this man. What the fuck going on here?
Damn, son, where'd you find this? In the trash?
People didn't even deserve to be banned at all, but the ban hammer has no mercy. Austin Jones, known online as Dude Pro, was a vlogger who started posting to YouTube in 2007.
I did not know him until he joined My Digital Escape, which was a collab channel with Brian Stars and everybody.
Most of the content on his uploads being covers of songs by bands like Fall Out Boy and 21 Pilots. After these covers became extremely popular, he even started releasing original songs, targeted at the same demographic that listened to the songs he covered, very young girls. On the surface, it seemed innocuous, just another person capitalizing on that young demographic with their music.
Very pop punk of him, to be honest. A lot of those guys, I think, are sexual
became popular
deviants.
Due to his biting comedy.
Tree, you need to get your shit together. This just ain't cutting it.
Don't bite me, you sick
Look
fuck.
stupid!
No, I didn't even get to the funny part. I'm embarrassed. I'll be honest, dude. I was faking that reaction. I'm sorry. You caught me.
Turns out Austin had a much darker reason for trying to become popular with teenage girls. At some point during the year of our Lord, 2010, when he would have been 17 to 18 years old, he presumably took a stroll through his follower list, picked whichever ones were the most to his liking, and took to their DMs to make a most inappropriate request. Specifically, he asked for twerking videos, and due to being starstruck and very young, many girls went along with it. I don't think it's possible to know how many girls got this message and just didn't reply, but it's clear that he targeted multiple girls at once, showing he wasn't even trying to be cautious about how he did it. However, the girls he was trying to groom into doing this were so young that they didn't even know how to twerk, but that was no biggie for Austin since he just showed them how to do it.
Oh my god, I'm glad we got that to this point, not too far after, dude. I'm glad I didn't jump the shark too early, but freaking yeah, I remember like D-Fizzy was one of the people who was sort of spearheading trying to get the word out about this guy being on like Warped Tour and shit when he was like a huge creep, and he was getting kind of silenced into just be like, stop making problems, shush, young man, at the time. And now I think everyone can clearly see that that's fucked up and that this guy should not have been on a tour around kids. This was like 2015 or 2016 or something, right? So freaking maybe pop punk wasn't like well known for being like a breeding ground for this type of behavior yet, but now unfortunately it really is. And if Warped Tour ever did come back in some capacity, I would hope that they would not let fucking weirdos on it who send videos like this, throwing it back, showing me how.
5 nights in Paris.
That's fucked up, man. What the hell? My eyes. All right, I got a focus locking in.
You bend your legs and then you arch your back and you arch your back.
Okay. I get it. Okay.
A twerk tutorial from a serial pedophile was not on the list of things I expected to see today. I have to wonder how many times he did this, because he's doing it pretty efficiently here. Did he watch some how-tos himself to get the technique down so he could pass it on? Some fire YouTube clap content? Regardless of how ridiculous and funny it may be to watch this bowl-cut predator throw it back, he quickly accumulated a large collection of illicit images and videos from minors. Austin wasn't just getting twerk videos from fans who happened to be minors. He specifically requested that they state their age loud and clear while doing it. One of the most common defenses from predators is the claim that they didn't know the victim's age. But Austin was really giving his future lawyer a run for his money here. Though this began all the way back in 2010, the story first broke on May 10th, 2015, when a girl called Taylor uploaded a video titled The Austin Jones Situation, in which she recounted her experience with Austin. She decided to message him after some sad posts he had made on Facebook, and as soon as she told him she was 15, he proceeded to compliment her and ask for a twerking video, followed by a twerking tutorial. It's almost as if the age was the trigger that...
Yeah, didn't he freaking ask them to specifically say their age out loud at one point? I think that would probably be brought up because it was It was out there, dude. Freaking Philip DeFranco covered this. This was in the news, as it should have been. Yeah, dude, that was freaking... What a piece of shit.
Prompted him to do it. Hey, you may be in danger.
I'm in danger?
In her video, Taylor pointed out that he never actually said her name in the video, suggesting that it had already been made beforehand, probably sent to some...
He's probably sending this to the goddamn whole schoolyard. Fucking god, why do I have to keep seeing this guy's ass?
His victim. Still, she refused to send anything due to being insecure about how she looked, among other reasons, prompting Austin to stop responding altogether, making it clear that his one and only interest was sexual. Eventually, Taylor told the story to some guy she met on Twitter who disliked Austin but for other reasons, and this person, who went unnamed in her video, decided to post it. This eventually caught Austin's attention, and he engaged with it, not to apologize or anything, but to claim that the incident had been caused by him taking antidepressants. This is like when
I take antidepressants and I have never felt the urge to do this, not once. Not throw it back, not message a child, not nothing. Not nothing. Nothing like that.
Joe from The Sopranos got caught in a gay club with a guy and tried to claim that it was his heart.
I mean, everyone's experience is different, obviously, but I'm not really trying to hear that from this guy.
Medication that made him do it. Your Honor, I'm not gay, but I was watching a lot of Skibbity Toilet at the time. Austin
who can relate?
Proceeded to threaten to sue the guy who posted the stuff to Twitter on the grounds of slander, despite the accusations being verifiably true. Given Austin started doing this in 2010, and this video came out in 2015, this is probably not the first time he's threatened to sue people to keep his business on the low. The person on Twitter that Taylor might have been referencing in her video may be a YouTuber called Leafy, who was spearheading the efforts on Twitter to expose Austin as a predator. But these efforts didn't yield anything of note besides Austin claiming he asked for twerk videos because he thought they were funny, and a classic YouTuber-style apology sent in private.
They're not funny. I mean, they're funny coming from you. But yeah, Damon was on his ass. Shout out D-Fizzy.
To one of his victims.
Hannah, I just actually really do think you're pretty, and I just wanted to make you feel special. And I'm sorry you're mad at me.
I wonder if he really thought
God,
sorry,
like this was beyond YouTube drama. Like this guy was actually sick and needs to not be in public.
You mad, girl?
At least not online, which I think was part of what happened. He was at least not online for a period of time.
Doing his best Swagapino impression would get him off the hook for soliciting minors. He should have tried that on the judge, too. Maybe just Mew in the courtroom. As a consequence of this information coming to light, people made a petition to take him off the Vans Warped Tour, which did achieve its goal since he eventually left of his own accord. About a month later, on June 29th, he released another apology. This time,
they tried to keep him on for a while, though, and it was not a good look. Not a good look whatsoever.
I'm not in private to one of his victims, but to his channel.
I've recently come under some fire on social media for mistakes I've made in the past. I used to ask fans for twerking videos. Yes, twerking the dance move. It's not something that I'm proud of. It's not something that I think is right, and I shouldn't have done it.
In the video, he excuses his behavior with his depression, going into painstaking detail about all the tragedies that ever happened in his life, from his sibling dying to his bad relationship with his dad, as if any of it was relevant to him trying to watch underage girls twerk. He also brings up his self-harm tendencies and claims he was 5150'd for an unspecified time, and tries to defend himself from the accusations, saying,
"Nothing ever went further than twerking videos. There were never any nudes, never any physical contact. It never happened."
He might have not been lying about this at that point, but it would eventually change. No one outside his circle took his apology seriously, but his fans were unusually forgiving. The next year, after these allegations had already been made public, saw Austin's biggest growth so far, and he released videos without any backlash. In May 2017, he got to around 500,000 subscribers, and mind you, he only had 90,000 when his apology came out. The thing about predators, though, is that they always reoffend.
Bro, there's just better singers out there, dude. There's other guys who are singing who look like this and don't do this type of shit. Like, I don't understand people who will, like, make excuses and be like, the music is fire, dog. It's like, first of all, you're wrong. It's just subjectively, no, it isn't. This fucking blurry face acapella, dude, I could live without it. Wee woo, creative police coming through. Luckily, the real police already got to this guy, so I'm not even needed here. But it's, I'm worked up, but it's being well covered. So it's good.
Feigning shock when she revealed her age, explaining how she was lucky he was speaking to her. He then asked her to prove she was his biggest fan, demanding exactly the content you'd expect. But but this time involving actual nudity. In May 2017, he found another victim, referred to as Victim A. He offered her to do a tryout or audition, which involved her doing the same thing. He actually framed the entire situation as if he was doing them a favor, which I can't tell if it's just a line he came up with to manipulate these girls easier, or if he actually believes that's the case. Following a criminal investigation by DHS, which included a summons to Comcast to provide the DMs, Austin was incarcerated in June 2017 and his house was searched. The illicit material was all found and he confessed to everything during an interrogation. The arrest led to a media firestorm, with YouTubers and mainstream media reporting on it. Austin faced up to 30 years in prison for the possession and procurement of illicit material containing children, with the prosecution arguing he had been caught talking to at least 6 underage girls between 2010 and 2017. 3 days after his arrest,
this man is a menace to society. Lock him up forever. I think he might already be out, but let's see.
$100,000 bail, but was still kept under house arrest and wasn't allowed to access the internet. YouTube initially refused to delete the YouTube channel, refusing to comment on the reasons behind it, stringing the channel's existence along until 2019 when it was finally banned. Around the same time, he pled guilty and was sentenced to 10 years.
I think he wasn't convicted until like whenever that was.
Prison. As of right now, his release is set for December 31st, 2027. Even still, when he gets out, I hope someone supervises what he's up to online. Otherwise, we can look forward to some more emo band covers.
Okay, so he's not out yet. That's, I guess, good. I don't know how long he's locked away for, but I support it either way, no matter how long it is.
10 years in prison. As of right now, his release is set for December 31st, 2027. Even still, when he gets out, I hope someone supervises what he's up to online. Otherwise, we can look forward to some more emo band covers, which are kind of good, and twerk tutorials, which are, you know, he's a pedophile. At first glance, 8 Passengers was just like any other family YouTube channel. Created in 2013 by Ruby Frank, a mother of 6, the channel began as an attempt to slow down time as she realized her oldest was going to be 18 soon. It just so happened that this wholesome family project made for extremely profitable YouTube content. The very first video posted was a gender reveal party for their then unborn child, and once the baby was born, it was shown in a video right out of the womb. Rarely does someone with that large a family have the time and patience to regularly turn their life into content, so it's not surprising that 8 Passengers became one of the largest channels of its genre. By 2021, it had gained over 2 million subscribers, getting over 40 million views a month at the peak of its popularity. However, this success didn't come without some trouble. Over the years, fans began noticing some problematic behaviors from Ruby, such as filming her kids even when they expressly asked her not to. This raised questions concerning the privacy of Ruby's kids, along with their ability to consent to being filmed in the first place. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Since the channel is deleted, it's impossible to personally verify it, but it was claimed that the comment sections were full of files posting suggestive timestamps, something that's been documented as a phenomenon in family-oriented channels and kids content in general. This wasn't a problem exclusive to Ruby's channel whatsoever, and it really wasn't her fault, but it certainly added to the list of concerns people had with exposing the inner workings of your family life as much as she did. It was only in 2019 that there was an uproar in the community after she was notified that her youngest child, a 5-year-old, had forgotten to pack her lunch, and her reaction really speaks for itself.
Eve is responsible for making her lunches in the morning, and she actually told me she did pack a lunch. So the natural outcome is she's just going to need to be hungry, and hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.
In and of itself, this was more than enough to pique people's attention to the possibility that Ruby was an abusive parent.
I was being sarcastic. That was, I mean, it doesn't seem like that serious, but I wouldn't vlog this at all, honestly. It'd be like, oh, she forgot it. I guess she'll learn her lesson, but I would, you don't have to hope no one helps her.
As dysfunctional food dynamics are often one of the most common manifestations of parental abuse, punishment, some of which were a lot more serious.
I'm only gonna say it one more time, and then you're gonna lose the privilege to eat dinner.
Based on the clips people collected from the channel's own uploads, the older boy, Chad, got the worst of it. At one point, he was sent to a boot camp called Anasazi, where he had to live out in the wilderness without electronics. This is what they said on the topic of why
What did he do to get sent to this boot camp? That seems very extreme. Like, damn near, I'm gonna be ready to emancipate my child before I send them to a military boot camp, like a cartoon or something, because I don't think they would ever forgive you. But I mean, people do it, right? Okay, I'm with you.
Did this.
It's an accumulation of things over years, well before we ever started YouTubing or well before we ever got into social media.
Oh, yeah?
And it's reached a point...
Did he kill animals or something as a young boy?
Where Chad needs to develop some very basic maturity and skills that he's going to need as an adult. And
this is a chance for like a reset.
What if he goes into the military when he's an adult? Which is at 18.
Or like a do-over, like a fresh beginning.
We're gonna reprogram him from the ground up. Get one of those Neuralinks from Elon Musk's charcuterie menu. What am I saying?
After spending over 2 months there, the family reunited in an emotional vlog, but the joy died down quickly as after pranking his younger brother by making him pack all of his things overnight, telling him they were going to Disneyland, Chad lost his bed privileges for 7 months. This isn't to say that doing that to your younger brother isn't a dick move you should be punished for, but 7 months with no bed is obviously crossing a line. The backlash against Ruby's parenting techniques was further compounded by TikTok, where a bunch of
How are you gonna take my bed? All I love is my bed and my mama. I'm sorry. And my mama took my bed. Now I'm just confused and sleepy. And I guess I'll just fucking sleep in the chair again.
We're uploading snippets of her abusive behavior and getting a lot of views off of it. Videos surfaced of her threatening her kids with severe punishments, including threatening to behead a stuffed animal belonging to one of her very young daughters.
Whoa.
It got to a point where they could no longer afford to ignore it. So when Business Insider offered to interview them, they jumped on the opportunity. There, they shared several interesting
Let me
details,
inside your
including the fact
business
that
family.
CPS had visited them, only to catch Ruby baking with her daughter, and the home perfectly in order, prompting the person visiting to embarrassingly apologize and leave. However, none of the criticism was ever accepted even partially, as the couple relegated all of it to haters purposely misconstruing them. The interview didn't help their public image, and their reputation after this never really recovered. After this, their upload schedule gradually slowed down as Ruby searched for other avenues to make money. In mid-2020, she partnered with Jody Hildebrand, who used to be the family's therapist, in a project that aimed to be a support group for mothers, giving them advice and helping them treat those lost in the darkness of a distortion. With language as vague as that, you can be sure something strange is going on. Ruby's personal life and online presence were completely rearranged around this project called Connections. With some people pointing out it sounded a lot like a cult, she renamed the 8 Passengers Instagram to Moms of Truth and completely rebranded it, using it exclusively to promote this new project of hers.
Let me tell you the truth.
Let me tell you.
Where there are games and there is distortion and there is lust and there
distortion.
are people who want to hurt others. That's not the real world. That is the delusional world. We have so many people living in the delusional.
I gotta wake up, huh? Yeah.
This rebrand came with a conscious decision to stop sharing as much of her
Everything
family
you just said sounds like some, some vague post bullshit, honestly.
Which I assume was done strategically so that fewer people were scrutinizing her decisions as a mom, but it sort of had the opposite effect. Not only were people already aware of her past deeds, but the kooky, vague, quasi-religious lingo she started using after she began Connections was raising a lot of red flags, leading people to think that something insidious was going on behind the scenes.
More red flags than any other flags I'm seeing. 100%. It's like a damn, Kentucky Derby or something. They would have a red flag or two, I think.
And Jody grew closer. Ruby decided to move Jody in to live with the rest of the family around 2022. And according to
that their vlog has been re-uploaded to Law and Crime, which makes it look very much more ominous.
Testimonies, Jody slowly brainwashed Ruby into becoming more and more vile. She even pitted her against her husband, Kevin, who was forced to abide by their draconian rules to continue being a part of the family and see the kids.
Just go ahead and look up what draconian meaning. Of great severity derives from Draco, which I pull up with like Soulja Boy. Who's with me?
It's your boy Soulja Boy in Dubai. Look at that camel behind me though, scratching his neck. Turn up.
Any Soulja Boy fans in the chat, smash that like button.
And persuaded to move out for bringing bad energy to the family. Kevin's absence from the house was correlated with a significant worsening in the kids' living conditions, with Ruby often leaving them at the house without supervision for several days, even covering the windows with newspapers so no one would look in. She also forced them to work outside for hours without food and water in over 100-degree weather. The kids were being isolated and malnourished, being fed the bare minimum to keep them sustained. If this wasn't a cult before, it absolutely was now. In May 2023, Ruby and Jody relocated the family to Jody's house in Ivins, which no one, including Kevin, had any knowledge of. The abuse continued until the 30th of August, when Russell, the second youngest, managed to escape the house via an open window. He ran to one of the neighbors, begging him for food and water. The neighbor immediately noticed that Russell had tape around his ankles, looked emaciated, and had open wounds, so he called police.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. Said he just came from a neighbor's house, and we know
got shivers up my spine. I didn't realize it was gonna get like that. I mean, I've never heard of these people. I'm not sure if I said that at the beginning of the segment, but
house. He's emaciated, he's got tape around his leg, he's hungry, and he's thirsty.
When the police came, they discovered the horrific living conditions the kids were in, prompting the CPS to immediately take the kids away. They also promptly arrested the two women who were charged with 6 counts of child abuse. Following Ruby's arrest, her sisters also took to Instagram, saying the arrest needed to happen. One of Ruby's daughters, Sherry, posted to Instagram celebrating her mom's arrest. She had already moved out long before the arrest and tried to alert the police to her mother's antics, calling a wellness check on the family when she'd heard the siblings had been left in the house.
Imagine getting dunked on by your own offspring. El Bozo.
Themselves for 5 days, but unfortunately nothing came of it. About
They're cooking your ass.
The 8 Passengers channel was taken down by YouTube, and the rest of the related online presence was slowly shut down. During the trial, Ruby went out of her way to make herself even more condemnable, accusing Russell of essaying his sisters to and in front of her. There was no proof, of course. What there was proof of was Ruby referring to her kids as the spawn of Satan. This phrase came from her diary, in which she admitted to refusing to feed the demons, shaving her son's head as a punishment, making her daughter stand in the rain for hours, and dousing her with water they used to wash the dog.
Bro, this is like the movie Carrie, where the mom, see how sane she looks? And nice and good? She loves God and her daughter. And she just wants the 1 and the 2 to get along, I don't know if it's much like that, but I tried.
break the deal with the devil she believed they had made. In the end, she took a deal and pled guilty to 4 counts of child abuse to prevent being convicted of 6 and being sentenced to up to 30 years in prison. Needless to say, we won't be hearing about Ruby Frank for a long time. Calvin Leafy.
That was fucking crazy, dude. Just so it doesn't seem like I reacted way harsher to Austin Jones, just because I'd heard about that before and it's like close to home, I guess. Freaking, you're giving swoopy-haired YouTubers a bad name or whatever. Anyway, I guess we're hearing about Leafy next, but that mom thing was fucking nuts.
Player known as Leafy is here needs no introduction. He first started uploading videos around 2012, originally focusing on Minecraft Let's Plays. However, this kind of content was already very saturated by the time he began, so it never got off the ground, leading him to pursue other avenues. Eventually, he added unscripted commentary over CSGO footage to his arsenal of formats, sporadically appearing alongside the Let's Plays. By late 2015, it was clear that commentary was outcompeting the other formats by a large margin, so he decided to focus exclusively on it, and the content started spreading around YouTube like wildfire. By January 2016, he had over 600,000 subscribers, ballooning to almost 4 million in the next 6 months, with 4 to 5 million views every single day. His success came with a very large community of people who embraced Leafy's style of commentary and even began repeating certain terms like hiss, or a 3-word phrase that can get you demonetized nowadays.
Yeah, that was the first time I freaking heard of Leafy, because people started saying hiss in my comments on freaking Lonniedos videos, and it was just all over YouTube, dude. It was freaking, you couldn't escape it. I was like, who is this Leafy guy? And at the time, his most recent video, I think, was probably just talking about the hiss phenomenon, and I don't know what story time stuff he was doing before that, but he seemed chill at the time. It was kind of before he started picking on random targets every day in more aggressive fashion.
Many other creators began doing the exact same format and even became successful in their own right doing it. However, there were also downsides to his success. For example, before, when he was a small channel, he could just say whatever he wanted about anyone he was reacting to, and it was inconsequential. But now that he had this gigantic community, it meant whoever he made a video on was immediately swarmed by thousands of people, flooding the person's comments with negativity. Usually, this didn't result in much. Mr. Black Darkness 666, for example.
Dude, that guy was crazy, but he seemed kind of self-aware. He was like going back and forth with Leafy, I think. And he would like print out pictures of him and do little seances and shit. It was good times, good times. Probably wouldn't rewatch it though.
My will is to send
no rewatchability whatsoever.
He has done me
solid
wrong.
6 out of 10.
In mid-2016, both iDubbbz and Sneako came out against Keemstar, someone who, at least up until that point, was a close associate of Leafy's. However, soon after they made their callouts, Leafy jumped right on the bandwagon and made his own video, claiming Keem had been talking them to other YouTubers. Unaffected by this drama, and maybe even propelled by it, Leafy continued to do insane numbers, nearing 5 million subs. The tide only changed in September when iDubbbz released the Leafy is Here content cop. Hailed by many as the greatest content cop video, it was the most effective critique of Leafy by far. There was no aspect of Leafy's format that went without criticism.
He was cooking his ass. He hid the chin by bringing it outside, dude. These were different times. This was like the only drama going on, because there wasn't like a constant thirst for it yet. It was crazy, but it all just seemed so in its own little like orbit, and we were all just watching, you know? Like, I didn't make any videos about this back in the day because I was already making videos about whatever important video games or whatever. I don't know. It would have felt disingenuous to just drop everything and chime in on this at the time. I kind of wish I did though, so I could roll the clip. I love rolling clips. Roll the clip of something.
I got the Lewis shoes dirty, goddamn!
Thank you.
So from him repeating himself a lot, stretching out, he had a spat with Nick from the Hey Watch Your Mouth channel over allegations of underpaid editing work, which, though it wasn't too significant a blow for Leafy overall, probably made him more hesitant to work with other people on content.
Dude, I still follow Hey Watch Your Mouth on Twitch. I see him streaming sometimes, and I'm like, why don't you make YouTube videos?
Grind,
is $20 okay?
People craved the lowbrow, politically incorrect content without even knowing it. He began to make the same exact kind of videos he used to do, but on everyone that had become relevant during his absence to the general public's acclaim, as he instantly started getting 1 to 2 million views per video. The most successful instance of him doing this was when he targeted Pokimane, criticizing her for supposedly having low-effort reaction content, abusing the copyright system against people she disliked, her appearance, and last but not least, publicizing the fact that she had a boyfriend to the dismay of her tier 3 subs who simped for her. All things considered, it wasn't exactly the best-kept secret in the first place, but the video had an impact nonetheless, as in the immediate aftermath of the video's release, Pokimane boyfriend started trending on Twitter. Leafy continued to release videos on anyone who crossed his path, and despite him being an obvious underdog, the audience was with him. The terms of service, on the other hand, wasn't. Eventually, he posted a video featuring an animation of Ethan Klein, his longtime arch nemesis, phantom taxing himself, which YouTube took issue with.
Whoa.
Shortly after, his channel was banned by YouTube,
citing
repeated violations of
crime?
community guidelines concerning bullying. This caused a bit of a stir, with many people blaming both Ethan Klein and Pokimane for it, citing Ethan's connection to the then CEO of YouTube, Susan Wojcicki, though both he and Pokimane came out to deny these accusations. Just a few months later, Leafy's Twitch was banned as well, supposedly for hateful conduct and threats of violence against a person or group of people.
Let's be honest, it was only a matter of time.
continued attempting comebacks, and in December 2020, Keemstar announced Leafy's partnership with Red Bloom LLC, which made a new account for Leafy simply called Leafy as an attempt to ban evade by having Leafy be the host of a show, but not the owner of the account. YouTube didn't fall for it and banned it as well. He then tried to make a third account called Lucky in 2021, but the ban hammer swung mercilessly. Someone needs to get this guy working out ASAP, or he'll become his arch enemy, Ethan.
He's got to start mewing. I'm sure he has, because they roasted his ass for this photo, which I think is edited, but also, I don't know, who cares? It's not the best angle. But that's what happens when you're an asshole to people, is they're going to be an asshole back.
To send off Instagram post read, "See you in 6 months to 5 years when I get unbanned off one of these websites again. Thank you for all the support and money. Eventually, we may see more Leafy, but as of right now, we can be sure he won't ever be back on YouTube." LtCorbis, real name Sophia, was another member of the commentary YouTube scene who became known due to her being just 11 years old. She shocked people by how she spoke in her videos, often cursing.
Did she have like a drama with Pyrocynical or Leafy or somebody? Because I remember her name, but
talking about very explicit topics. The novelty of her content was that she was as articulate as other commentary people who were significantly older, which you could see as a merit. She's a baby,
but she says bad words.
Hers, or a sign that the commentary community wasn't that bright to begin with.
It's like Family Guy.
She saw herself as an amalgamation of multiple other YouTubers, including iDubbbz, Sneako, and H3H3. The specific video of hers that put her in the spotlight was released in early 2016 and consisted of her commenting on the Fine Bros React World controversy when the Fine Brothers attempted to trademark the word react.
So they basically made a video that's main idea was just about licensing reaction videos as a whole. That means if you make
dude, this was like the only drama going on at the time. That's kind of how it worked for a few years until now people find something to talk about every day for the most part. Crazy.
You can't license something that widespread just because you're like pretty much the biggest company.
Maybe he just like shouted her out or something.
Who gave her a shout out in a video uploaded soon after. This became the defining moment of her career, as she grew from basically nothing to over 60,000 subscribers in a day. Seeing this monumental growth, Keemstar also decided to platform her, which further boosted her popularity. About a week later, Corbis had over 180,000 subs, and while her explosive initial growth eventually slowed down, she continued to gain subs at a good pace, getting hundreds of thousands of views per video. But things soon began turning sour. Corbis eventually made a video essentially disavowing the community at large, and based on what she herself says in that video, this was because they'd already turned against her, supposedly due to her being rude to no-fuckers' friends. Her critiques boiled down to a few factors: lack of originality, low standards, and most importantly, in-group loyalties that protected anyone in the community from criticism. She found this hypocritical since most of the content creators in this sphere got big off of making fun of others, but didn't tolerate being treated the same way. There were follow-ups to this video, but none had the same impact as the first, since at that point, she'd already burned bridges with pretty much every other commentary channel. To no one's surprise, Corbis moved away from the community format altogether, but continued to do skits and freeform rant videos, eventually changing her name to Soph. It's interesting that she mentioned Sneako being one of her influences, because over time, these rants grew increasingly political in nature, making fun of woke celebrities and people in Hollywood being pedos. It's very odd to see because the format was still indistinguishable from regular content you'd see on YouTube, but now it had a distinctive right-wing vibe, becoming increasingly present in the new uploads. This element continued to intensify until it boiled over into an 18-minute screed against Islam called Be Not Afraid, none of which can be shown because it seems there's a really strict content ID ban on it that prevents any segment from being uploaded to YouTube. In the video, she's wearing a hijab and addressing comments she made on Discord, where she said that there should be a second little mustache man to go gorilla mode on the Muslims.
What
Can't really get more specific.
What is she, like 13 now? She's probably just going through a phase. It's fine. She'll grow out of it.
She'd already beefed with in the past, with the fuckers making a video criticizing her views and accusing her of Islamophobia. This became much larger than YouTube though, with mainstream media outlets like BuzzFeed making articles about her, which ended up having the opposite effect as she was now nearing 1 million subscribers. Despite being just 14 years old at the time, she became one of the biggest voices in the right-wing sphere.
Oh, it was actually close, dang.
Which again, you can either see as a merit of hers or a fault of that community. She went on to take part in many political shows, from Destiny's Stream to Ethan Ralph's and even Alex Jones. Many people, particularly the journalists who had covered her, had already begun calling for her to be deplatformed for quite some time. But surprisingly, she stuck around on the platform well into 2019. However, it seems Soph decided to go right ahead and get herself banned. First, she uploaded a video called YouTube Parental Discretion Advised, which had an intro sequence featuring an image of Nasim Agdam, a psychotic vegan woman who attempted to shoot up YouTube headquarters. In this same intro sequence, Soph jokingly made death threats against Susan Wojcicki, who was the CEO of YouTube at the time.
Why would you do that?
Got the attention of the police, though they deemed the threat not credible. Then she posted Pride and Prejudice, which was essentially another Be Not Afraid, but this time targeting the LGBTQ+ community, and YouTube promptly banned her for having 3 TOS violations within 90 days. Soph's response was to tweet out an image of herself holding a firearm with the words, "YouTube headquarters, here I come." After her ban, she stuck around on Subscribestar and Gavin McInnes' subscription website Censor.tv for about 2 years, though she's since become inactive on those platforms as well. Other people on this list...
this is the guy who made the creepy Minecraft freaking sex animations and shit, dude. I'm not looking it up again. It's been wiped. Thank God. Let's just forget it ever happened.
The site's own
the hell is that?
Was a run-of-the-mill pyramid scheme where you'd get gifts from the people you recruit.
Oh, hell yeah. I love pyramids and building them, as long as I'm near the top. You got the cloud goggles extra large.
era. There are even annoying orange-style creatures on the side here, like monuments of a lost civilization. Soon after the channel's inception, the format of the content began mimicking Ray William Johnson's Equals 3, with simple commentary and reactions to videos that were viral at the time. The thing is, unlike Equals 3, which made it clear in the thumbnails that they were transformative, Brian branded his content so that it'd be impossible to distinguish between it and the stuff he was reacting to in a kind of primitive clickbait. Since the terms of service were a lot less effective at preventing this kind of thing at the time, this strategy worked, and he got enough views on his channel to start monetizing it. During this time, he married Megan Lee Hart, and the channel also became infamous for going after other creators, most notably Alejandra Gaitan, who became known as the original Reply Girl, one of the main people behind the 2012 YouTube trend of making reply videos with cleavage in the thumbnails to siphon away all of the potential viewers of the original.
Dude, I knew MeganSpeaks as the original Reply Girl, to be honest. This girl was on every freaking viral video back in the day. Every Shane Dawson video, every freaking, which I'm sure is probably this one that's on screen with the 2 views. Kate Upton makes me last 45. Yeah, that sounds like an old Shane Dawson vlog. He's probably gonna be like, what's up, guys? She really just didn't have anything to add to the video. She would just, from what I remember, she would just like have cleavage and be like, yeah, this was a cool video. I'm always a fan. And yeah, that's it. Goodbye.
It was very insensitive to say the least.
They seem to be getting hit by a lot of earthquakes nowadays. I cannot believe it. Anyway, thumbs up this video for epic earthquake.
This sparked criticism.
Dude, this seems like obviously it's tasteless and rude, like, to make a video immediately after a tragedy, like kind of mocking it, but of course this happens today, dude. Like, I've seen so many modern versions of this, like people making like clickbait versions of like something that happened to Dan TDM's dog like passing away or something, and they'll just be like LOL, obviously trying to farm rage. This seems so like nothing, but like back in the day, like nobody did this, so he probably did get a bunch of views off of it, which is kind of crazy. It's just a different time, you know?
I cannot believe it. Anyway, thumbs up this video for epic earthquake.
Heat from other YouTubers became heat from YouTube itself, and a life in a tent was removed for violating community guidelines regarding spam content. Shortly after, Brian tried to come back with a channel called K Martin, but he got caught botting views and it got terminated. This is documented in a Daily Dot article from 2012, and apparently he wasn't botting views for himself, but for other people. He figured out that he could get other people's channels affected by botting their views blatantly and having YouTube punish them for it, so he tried to do it to a few channels, including the Yogscast. Ultimately, it didn't work since the payment for the botted views was traced back to the email he was using, and one of the patterns in his bot attacks was that people who spoke out against reply girls would get hit with it. This is because Megan, his aforementioned wife, was one of them, which gave clear motivation to the attacks, and also explained the targeting of the original reply girl.
Like I said, I was a big fan, dude. I'm a reply girl myself, so I don't want no smoke, please. Just
could have been seen as competition. Either way,
I'm just reacting. I'm just like you. We're not that different, you and me.
Both he and Megan were found to have been suspended in previous accounts of theirs, and had their channels terminated for it. About a year later, Brian made 2 other channels: FuturisticHub, which uploaded Minecraft-related animations, and VideoGames, which began with gameplay videos and slowly evolved to focus on things like Black Ops 2 montages. While FuturisticHub was all his, the VideoGames channel's ownership was shared with a man called Marco Princip. But to say they were behind the channel is facetious, since it was actually operated by 2 other people, Brandon Keating and Ty Moss. And based
I was gonna say, freaking Ty Moss, I think, won this lawsuit because he didn't get paid out for his investment. FuturisticHub or whoever the VideoGames guys were tried to like run off with the money, or did, or this was the channel, youtube.com/VideoGames. OG username. They haven't uploaded in 5 freaking years, but they would do like gamer vids, like Call of Duty bullshit, and it's like a community channel though, so all of these videos are probably made by different people.
Hey YouTube, how's it going? My name is Lonnie. Today we're playing some more Slither Me Timbers. Oh boy, the owners of this channel, they said, I have one request of you, is to please not call the game anything stupid. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. They didn't really ask that though, so it doesn't matter. We're playing some Slithery, yo.
The channel even says a relic of YouTube's past, at Ty Moss and at Brandon Talks, dude, so I guess they're not really planning to do anything with it. I did a video for them back in the day, but I don't think it's still up. But it was a Slitherio video, and it was epic!
Revealed much later, there was an agreement between them that gave Brandon and Ty partial control over the channel, as well as the right to a share of its revenue. By late 2014, both channels were doing very well, far better than Life in a Tent had ever done, with FuturisticHub getting hundreds of thousands and occasionally over 1 million views on a video, while the VideoGames channel had over 2 million subscribers. However, this grace period wasn't going to last very long. In 2015, his reputation as a mass flagger began making the rounds once again. In April, the information made its way to Keemstar, who proceeded to, for the course of the next 2 months, well into the next year, rally against Brian and band together with other people he'd allegedly been targeting, including Leafy, Quebblecop, Syndicate, and others, claiming that the flagging had evolved to outright stalking. In response, Brian declared he was going to sue him for defamation, and at one point even called the police on Keem, alleging he'd been swatted by him with no evidence. Oddly, while Brian was gaining infamy for his lawsuit debacle, none of it reflected on his FuturisticHub YouTube channel, which was fast approaching 1 million subscribers. However, the popularity that this channel channel was getting in and of itself was becoming an issue, since while the content was marketed to kids who played Minecraft, there were other inappropriate themes in them that a kid obviously shouldn't see. All of these elements came together at once in mid-2016.
Like, you know, all the sex scenes that are usually absent in Minecraft because Mojang doesn't have the cojones to show me some nuts.
Caused Brian's ultimate downfall. First off, the two guys actually responsible for running the Video Games channel sued Brian and Marco for purposely delaying and refusing to pay them, and won the lawsuit for a big, chunky $20 million for the additional bonus that they got the rights to the channel, which still exists to this day, though it's inactive. If that wasn't bad enough, Repsion, who knew Brian back when he was life in a tent, commented on the lawsuit's result by revealing that years prior, Brian messaged him asking for him to take one of his videos down because he didn't like what he said in it. When Repsion refused to do so, Brian proceeded to dox him and his entire family. Repsion's mother began to be harassed with sexual phone calls, and most egregiously, Brian made a webpage with a picture of Repsion's 1-year-old nephew attached to Repsion's address, followed by a series of very out-of-line threats to the infants. Repsion successfully took the page down by calling the company that hosted the site, but still, it showed what kind of person Brian truly was. While Brian did make the time to animate Keemstar getting probed by aliens, which I can't show here for obvious reasons, his concern eventually shifted away from what other YouTubers were saying and toward the prospect of losing what little he had left after the settlement. In fear of having FuturisticHub taken away, Brian began claiming that FuturisticHub was actually owned by a girl named Holly, his new partner, since behind the scenes, he had divorced Megan in 2019. Specifically, the proceedings began on September 15th, and this matters because in order to stifle the corporate, Sneako, real name Nico, started posting to YouTube in 2013, doing basic commentaries over Call of Duty Black Ops 2 footage, and even early on, there was a distinct tendency towards speaking about politics in his videos.
I am not a feminist, and for some reason that means I'm against gender equality. Whenever I tell people that I don't consider myself a feminist, I get the same response. Feminism is for equality of both genders. One, if that was true, it would be called humanism. It's already hypocritical in the title. That's like saying white supremacy is for the advancement of all races.
His content didn't really go anywhere at the time, and his first real chance at exposure came in 2014 by means of Keemstar offering him the opportunity to read a letter from FuturisticHub for a video. However, when the recording got back to Keemstar, he found the quality subpar and decided against using it, which upset Sneako, who went on to release a video attacking Keemstar over it, though it was privated shortly after. Sneako's contention was that
Didn't he do the same thing to Mr. Beast? He like got a job working there and he's like, but I want to be Mr. Beast, so I'm gonna expose him for doing nothing and giving me an opportunity. Sneako's a dumbass.
Never really gave his reading a chance, and based on the conversation they eventually had during a live stream of the podcast, it's not a lie.
You went and started messaging me at 3 a.m. and you said, I picked you out of hundreds that asked me to do the reading. Part of me knew you were going to fail, going in, to be honest. I just wanted a reason to call you a loser, and now I have it.
How's he supposed to pass that test?
But I mean, is there a possibility that he would have done a good job? Is there a possibility?
Who determines it? That's
me, motherfucker.
Exactly.
I'm the goddamn person that is.
You didn't know. You didn't watch it.
However unfair a situation he found himself in with Keemstar, he was given a much fairer shot by someone else you might have heard of, Mr. Beast. At the time, both Sneako and Mr. Beast were doing the COD gameplay commentary format and interacted positively with each other's comment sections. Eventually, when Mr. Beast started popping off, he offered Sneako a job. Jumping on the opportunity, Sneako appeared in one of Mr. Beast's videos released in 2018, where they built a car out of big fake Legos. The video did very well, but Sneako wasn't very happy, feeling that Mr. Beast's content was too commercial and sanitized for him. Eventually, this dissatisfaction boiled over into an expose of Mr. Beast, significantly less justified than the one he did against Keemstar. Unsurprisingly, he was fired for doing this, and eventually came to regret making such a foolish decision. And a few years after that, he even showed some gratitude to Mr. Beast for teaching him more about how to succeed on YouTube. Sneako continued to pave his own way on YouTube for a while, and while his content wasn't yet profitable enough to sustain him, he worked briefly as a model for Nike. He later came to regret this as well.
That's kind of badass. What the hell? If I was that beautiful, I would just do that full time. I wouldn't go online and also say, the liberals! They've got me so mad!
But fortunately for him, he no longer had to do this kind of work, since by the end of 2018, Sneako released what became his most successful video to date. The video was pretty simple. He interviewed people on the street, asking questions such as, is it okay for a white person to say the N-word? Or, would you say the N-word for $1?
Can white people say the N-word?
A whole dollar?
Hell no.
I'm about to come up off this. Please, just close your ears.
White people can't say the N-word.
No, I personally would never.
No.
No.
Why not?
Because they can't. No.
This got over 10 million views, and it set the tone for what kind of content Sneako was going to make going forward. With a newfound popularity, Sneako began posting all kinds of videos, including vlogs and political content. And this is what most people remember him for. These vlogs had good direction and photography, especially for YouTube standards, and featured music quite prominently, which made the content very unique and recognizable. He also tried his hand at stand-up comedy, but it wasn't nearly as successful as his YouTube stuff. In August, he revealed he dropped out of college to focus exclusively on making more content, which was soon followed by his new series called the 1 Minute Podcast. This series took the format of Steven Crowder's Change My Mind videos and made it so that each interview only lasted 1 minute, with multiple topics being covered instead of just one.
Where do we go when we die?
Where we go?
up God's ass.
Probably.
Whoa!
We just disintegrate.
I used to smoke crack.
This format, especially with the frequent cuts to keep the videos very dynamic, was very promising and was already becoming very successful, and his channel was thriving. However, it all came to a screeching halt when the pandemic began, making it impossible for the videos to be made. The momentum he had garnered was well on his way to die off completely, but even then, Sneako could have easily maintained some of it if he tried different formats. He had more than proven himself capable of coming up with good ideas for videos. However, he decided against any good idea he had when he posted a video where he praised the movie Cuties, a French movie that sexualized actual children.
I even tweeted like, Cuties is clickbait. This was a pretty good movie, and everybody replied.
Why did that movie even exist? That was the movie that was like about the dancing kids or something, but it was like super provocative to sort of highlight the disgusting nature of the industry, but still, it's a gross movie though, was the thing. 7% liked this movie. A talented 11-year-old girl rebels against her conservative family's traditions and joins a free-spirited hip-hop dance troupe. Yeah, I'm not into it. I'm not watching that shit. It really just seems like people only like it to be edgy.
I'm unfollowing you. This is the limit, Sneako. This is the limit. I can guarantee you, none of you saw the fucking movie.
You're right.
How do you criticize
I
a
don't
movie
watch
that you didn't
films.
see?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Even
but
if the movie was documenting how that stuff exists, explicitly showing it is
even
still
these
wrong.
amount of pixels, it's too much. It's too close to watching it.
I might. Additionally, it's easy to glean from any synopsis of the movie that the plot consists of a girl with a strict Muslim mom who finds liberation in school dancing. It's pretty indefensible, and his audience definitely opposed it. Around the same time, he broke up with his long-distance girlfriend after he had cheated on her, prompting D'Angelo Wallace, a fellow YouTuber, to say Sneako's made for the streets. Now, given what Sneako did, you'd probably expect him to exercise a little bit of humility. I mean, he did basically talk about what he did publicly to everyone.
Forcing myself to watch D'Angelo Wallace, dude. The hell?
Right. But instead, in response, Sneako made a half-hour roast reacting to a documentary made by D'Angelo. While he didn't suffer a loss of reputation or audience, it was clear from this video that Sneako was embarrassed about him having cheated and reacted way out of proportion to D'Angelo's comments. Soon after, Sneako, like many other content creators during this particular era, transitioned into streaming and repurposed his second channel, Sneako, around it. This coincided with the extreme surge in popularity of Andrew Tate's content, which Sneako latched onto hard. Basically, Tate was doing everything Sneako wanted to do, which was to get an insane amount of views by riling people up. Old viewers of his channel probably remember his original personality. It was very different from the person he eventually became. Even if some elements stayed the same, he became much more aggressive and talked much less about how self-conscious he was in him striving to be a successful alpha male YouTuber. With the rise of Andrew Tate on social media, Sneako once again transformed into a Tate light streamer, parodying many of his talking points. However, even if he truly began to believe the things he was saying, they were a far cry from the guy he was just a few months prior, who, for example, thought Dave Chappelle's jokes about trans people were in poor taste, and, most importantly, took his girl to a party and watched someone go gorilla mode on her.
Imagine seeing the girl you love, like, get yeah, I do. I love it. Yeah, love her.
Evidently, this wasn't
He's like, I don't have to imagine it. I lived it. I mean, to each their own, man. It seems like a weird time to mention that.
Extraordinary act of betrayal, but something Sneako agreed to as they were in an open relationship. Later on, he tried to downplay this traumatic experience and qualify that he was also performing the gorilla act with the girlfriend of the guy who cucked him, but no matter how much he openly joked about it, it simply didn't jive well with the new identity he had taken up, making him a laughingstock for much of his own audience. Sometime later, a YouTuber named Brandon Buckingham messaged him and invited him to do a boxing match at a time when influencer boxing was really taking off. This was a business opportunity that, without Brandon, Sneako probably wouldn't get, since the person who owned Happy Punch, the company hosting a lot of the events, happened to be Keemstar, who still didn't want to work with him, possibly because he still held a little grudge over the whole voice acting thing from 10 years prior. In return for Brandon having gone out of his way to convince Keemstar to let Sneako fight in one of the events, Sneako asked Brandon why he's on his... This made Brandon mad, and he proceeded to joke about him and his boys running a train on Sneako's ex-girlfriend, essentially making fun of the open relationship. Sneako, in what's probably the greatest act of cowardice so far, tried to dress this up as if Brandon had threatened to rape his girlfriend. This eventually led to Brandon making a long expose video about Sneako. A similar situation took place when Sneako attacked KSI for celebrating Tate's ban, only for KSI to challenge him to a boxing match as well, causing Sneako to back off. Sneako continued to grow on YouTube, amassing over 1 million subscribers on his stream channel, and, at least according to him, earning hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. However, this didn't last very long either, as he made comments about the vaccine and the legitimacy of the 2020 election that got him striked. He was considering other options multiple times, complaining that the restrictions it places on him are too rigorous, even hinting at a possible conversion to Christianity, which, again, was probably influenced by Tate.
Bro switched religions because one was too hard. Feel like I need a wash after that. A bunch of dirty men out there. Banned? Keep them banned? I mean, maybe some more than others. I don't freaking know, dude. But, dude, who's your problematic fave? Sneako? I figured. Let me know in the comments, dude. Thank you for watching this reaction video. What should I react to next? Subscribe if you're new. Check out my hats. Lonniedos.com. See you in the next one. Peace.